Gear 6 is immortal. Let's check this out. Gear 6 is immortal.
We have so much Luffy epicness, Scopper greatness, a new form, and more in this hype chapter, so make sure to stay tuned for that. In the last one, Scopper was amazing, of course, but looked down for the count at the end of it. He was on the ground and lost an arm to the last attack. You could say he pulled a Shanks while protecting Luffy. And I guess One Piece is all about
As
history
so many
repeating
other
itself,
people have
or at
done.
least rhyming in a way, so that parallel does fit. And that brings us to this chapter.
People always
called
get fucked up
Loki
after they
is
protect
Here.
Luffy,
But
bro.
before the full deep dive into this epic chapter, quick thanks to NTE for sponsoring this video. NTE is a supernatural urban open world RPG built around urban legends, anomalies, and a massive modern city where the supernatural can hit you at any moment. And version 1.3 is about to make the game even bigger. From August 19th through September 8th, the first half of the update adds Zanko, the first villain character without a redemption arc, a brand new main story chapter called The Fog Den Game, beach volleyball and bike ride-along events, new swimsuit outfits for the Appraiser,
Bold fixes is
Zanko,
crazy.
Mint, Chaos, and Nanali, and yes, a new vehicle, a jet ski. Get ready to enjoy the summer
This
in
has nothing to-
Heathrow.
Hey,
But the biggest addition
we
is
gotta
the
skip this chat.
Duskmoor District, available on PC packed with characters and uncovered, including the new character Linko.
Bro, your entire
And
video
is
is
still fine and
is
getting
an
better, but
advertisement.
more on that later.
Come on.
Luffy says to himself, if I change back to normal, it'll be bad. So you could say he's willing himself
least you know
to
Luffy.
stay in this form because he knows that there is no coming back if he reverts. And not only that, he's shown getting up on his feet. Remember, this form was pretty much described as being able to turn anything you can imagine into reality. So if we're ever gonna expect the impossible, it should be with Gear 5. The logic isn't as important as willpower and belief, which is kind of the same with achieving your goals in real life, to be honest, which is why they say art reflects life. Luffy goes on saying, hey, old man, Gramps. We see Scopper's body trembling as he says, oh, damn it, he got an arm. Luffy says, sorry, you took
Gramps
that attack
didn't deserve
for
to
me.
lose
Whereas
that.
Scopper responds, don't be stupid. I didn't do it for a disappointment like
Yo,
you.
bro, his
Cough.
arm back.
I'm fighting for Elbaf. Gotta love his tough love approach, even though you know he's definitely protecting Luffy too. That becomes all the more obvious the more we go on here. Scopper decides there's no way I'm letting it end like this. Luffy,
I mean, we
looking
need
close
Luffy to
death at the
save
moment
Elbaf.
himself,
That's the
asks
whole thing.
Gramps, what is he? Referring to Emu. Probably my favorite old
Loki
man in
already
all
got
of
beat.
anime. Add some of your own favorites in the
So,
comments below. Says, well,
do
his
the math
true
on that.
nature seems to be a big secret. And keep in mind, he's tying up the arm he just lost as he speaks so he doesn't bleed to death right there. Such a badass. OG subscribers of the channel will remember that I had a most badass old dudes in anime video series back in the day, and smash that like button if you agreed that this legend would most definitely make the cut. Emu, there isn't a difference, as Emu pointed out,
Okay.
but I'd assume what Scopper is saying here is A, he has godlike powers, like with the immortality and insane strength and all that, and or B, he's the god, aka authority, who sits on top of the current world order, the one associated with the celestial dragons and the world government. Also, such a line hypes up the battle because there can be no more hyped up opponent than a god. But we'll see how the official translation translates it, because there is nuance here. If they add an A in the official translation in front of God, it's immediately a big difference, although this version definitely does a better job of grabbing your attention. We see the powerful beasts in the underworld pass out from the hockey being released from Emu.
Wait,
Emu
we're
is
in the
on
underworld?
ground as a result of Scopper's
This
attack,
win.
which is no small feat. Emu looks pretty beat up and says to himself, the Pirate King's crew, huff huff, 'twas unforeseeable that those youths from God Valley would become such a nuisance. I ought to have dealt with them along with rocks back then. And then we see his hand grow and turn black as his transformation commences. But the words are epic too.
That's why he
I honestly
transformed.
was already a big Scopper
He was
fan,
getting-
even if he never survived that last
Bro was
attack.
getting axed
But
to
Emu
ass.
just keeps delivering on the Scopper hype. And if you want to keep the awesomeness coming, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because he may give us even
I
more
would
in
cut
the
off my
next
arms.
few chapters.
I'm
So
trash at
this
this.
version of Emu definitely looks more beastly and devil-like. The horns become oversized, and he takes on a much more monstrous appearance. His left eye is revealed now too, so who knows, maybe, as we've speculated with Zoro, some special powers are associated with that covered eye. In any case, symbolically, it feels like he's not holding back or hiding anything anymore. As Imu jumps back into action, we cut to the Owl Library. Chopper is there and says, "Thank goodness the books are okay." Robin says, "Yes, it's all thanks to Biblo." And Saul says, "Chopper, I want you to try and talk to him. He
What is
sure
Biblo?
looks like he's trying to tell us something," but Chopper says, "Really?" He struck
But I
me
feel like
as the
Biblo is
silent
more
type.
than just
As
an
we
owl.
hear Bilbo talking, hoot, 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 and it goes on for a while. Chopper looks surprised as he listens, but for now, it just seems like a mini cliffhanger as we quickly move back to the battleground again. And I mean, you can't really complain about that because obviously the battle is a really hype part. Both Luffy and Emu are affected by Emu's new form and arrival as they're seen falling in pain. Emu says to Scopper to escape from that with only an arm lost. How impressive. Scopper says, "That's my line. You walking off my attack is a blow to my rep. Not that I've got the hands to applaud you." That's a good one. I love how he even jokes in this situation. Emu says, "This next attack will leave nothing behind." Scopper knows he's not bluffing, as Luffy is pointing out how different Emu looks and asking if it's the same guy. Not really the issue here, Luffy, but Scopper says, "Listen up, Straw Hat,
If bro is a
get
problem,
your crew and leave Elbaf." So he's dropped the act now. He's not just doing this for Elbaf. Clearly, if he's telling Luffy,
okay, but the whole thing is, Luffy is the person that's gonna save Elbaf. With no Luffy, there's no saving Elbaf. They already tried to wipe out the Giants one time. Now that the Giants aren't really wiped out, then they know this, brother. We need Luffy. Also, Luffy can transform into a giant. We win. A win is a win. You understand?
to leave Elbaf behind and save himself. But Luffy, to his credit, says, "There's no way I'm doing that." So here, Oda knew what he was doing. He was making it look like this may be the second time.
If Luffy
has
doesn't
to be
hit
saved
Gear
and then
6
gets a
right
time
now,
skip
this
to
instant,
train
bro,
and power
next
up.
chapter,
However, Oda raises the idea
after
only to
Emu's
have Luffy shut it down,
transformation,
for now at least. If it happens, it won't happen the
over.
same way as last time. This time,
So
my
is One
guess
Piece.
is they'll keep fighting, not abandoning
We
Elbaf
have reached the
until
dead
the
end.
Emu can't
There is
be
no
outside
beating
of Marujo and
Blackbeard.
Too Long
There is no
Stuff
getting
finally
any
comes into
revenge for
play,
Ace.
and Emu himself needs to retreat. Then we could potentially
over.
get the opportunity for that time skip or at least training arc. Scopper says to Luffy, "You're barely better than a corpse at this point. You can't help us." Luffy says, "I
Bro.
could say the same."
You know how bad a training arc would be? Because now Emu knows what he has to do. He's going to be trying to take these niggas out all the time, non-stop. There will be no time to train. He literally just said it. He's like, I should have been focused on capturing your ass, killing your ass before. Boom.
To you. How
Did
can
he?
you fight like that? Emu uses the devastating Honebami again. Luffy says it's no use. Run, Gramps, but Scopper prepares to fight back. They both know they're in trouble though, and that this is probably the end. And of all people, who saves them? None other than Hyruden with Gungnir.
Hyruden!
He punches Emu and sends him flying just like Loki did. Now it definitely seems like we can't sleep on giants, especially if they are Herald's sons. We talked about how Dory and Broggy seem to get stronger out of nowhere before, and it seems like that'll be the case for Hyruden here as well. And in this case, at least he has Herald's blood, so it's very believable that he'd have great potential waiting to be awakened within him, especially since he is young, relatively speaking, for a giant. I guess we just gotta stop thinking of him as the random giant Luffy fanboy we met back in the day and start thinking of him as son of Herald and future king of Elbaf. Now, to also not get carried away,
But he's
Emu
not the
being
future
caught
king.
off guard
Loki
after
is the
having
future king.
fought a lot away from Marisha
Unless he just
is
joins
also
the
a factor. Let's not
the
ignore that either.
crew,
But
you know what I'm
still,
saying?
you
And
can't deny that this is impressive.
just gives
but
up being
even
king.
after Emu launches one of his talking fireballs,
Because you
at
need a
Hyruden
powerful
in
king.
devastating
And there's
fashion,
definitely
Hyruden
Loki.
is more or less fine. He does suggest he might not survive a second one like that, but really the scene just serves to make him look badass. He's getting a character glow up in this chapter for sure. Hyruden is worried about Scopper and his lost arm, but Scopper just says thanks for the assistance. He also adds that Emu's immortal and he can't see a way of them winning, aka Scopper doesn't see them being able to defeat Emu. He tells Hyruden to make sure to get Luffy out of here, and again we have the possibility raised. But Luffy remains firm, even after almost just dying. He screams, "You don't have to butt in, I'm not gonna run." Scopper says, "Listen to me, what can you do with those wounds?" Luffy says, as he's been hinting at since last chapter, "I'm gonna recover now." Scopper says, "That's nuts," but Luffy explains, "I ate a lot. I can make it happen." Scopper says, what kind of logic is that? You can't fight anymore. And here it is. It's not about logic. This whole Gear 5 and thus Sun God thing is about being able to bend reality if you can imagine it or will it. And
Gear 5 is not enough.
Convinced that eating a lot will help him, and he's in Gear 5. So yet another shonen example of the one who believes being more powerful than one with all the logic. Luffy notices more fireballs coming and says, hey, it's a bomb. Hiruden lifts them both up and protects them, taking the hit himself. And he's still not down. Hiruden's looking so good this chapter. Imu is back now, and Hiruden is told to fall back and live another day. But Hiruden keeps getting more and more epic by the panel, and he says, I won't bend a knee. A true warrior is always resolved to die in battle. Scopper says, moron, consider the fallout of your death. To which Hiruden responds with the goosebump-inducing line, it's okay. If I die, Loki is here. The development
Told y'all Loki
of
would
this
be king,
brotherhood
bro.
between Loki and Hiruden
Sacrificing
has
himself for
been one
Loki
of my favorite parts of
to
this
become
arc,
king.
and that's saying a lot because
destiny.
I've been loving it in general. Loki would usually say something like, shut up you weakling, but here he shows up and says, well said brother, they've never been this much on the same page before and you love to see it. Luffy also seemingly recovers. We've seen how he eats a lot before and metabolizes it and uses it to recover. Now he seemingly summons up the food he had before, gets all round, and then returns to normal as he usually does when food helps him recover. So even though Luffy isn't usually one for strategizing, it is cool to see how this whole I gotta eat a lot thing before the battle is actually making sense and paying off. Luffy says, I'm also back on my feet, to which Scopper is shocked and says, what in the world are you guys? This is a noticeable shift, and you love to see it. So far, Scopper has been disappointed with this new generation, specifically with Luffy, but now the new generation is shocking him in a positive way. Loki, Hiruden, and Luffy then launch a combo attack, Gokoku Sovereignty, at Imu, and we went from a hopeless situation to now our guys being on the offensive. So after all that talk about not retreating, more than ever, I think they'll hold out until Imu has no choice but to return to Marijoa because of his own time limit. But let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks again to
how long is Imu's time limit?